Hey everybody, we're going to be continuing on with our look through Kyle's physical media collection today as we cover the A's. So let's get started with that. We're going to be looking through every single movie I own on physical media. And starting off with a DVD of The Abandoned. This was one of those movies that was one of the 8 films to die for. Back when they did that and I just thought it was 8 films. I thought it was going to be really 8 like gnarly, crazy movies. This was a great marketing campaign because some of these movies were good, some weren't good. I probably wouldn't own any of them. But The Abandoned was a pretty good one. From what I remember, I think I need to rewatch it. It's been so long. But yeah, this is one of those ones I picked up because it was the 8 films to die for. They were supposedly the scariest movies ever made. And they did like 4 or 5 years of this. And I stopped after the first year because I was like, that was fine. It was fine. Up next, I got a box set collection of Abbott and Costello Meet the Monsters right here. So this is Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, The Invisible Man, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and The Mummy. Turns out later on I went and got the Universal Monsters box set on Blu-ray, which has a lot of these ones on Blu-ray. We'll get to that one eventually. So I really keep it now for Abbott and Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's the only one that's in this set that's not in that set. That's an okay movie, but the other ones are superior, especially Meet Frankenstein. It's just, like, who'd have thought that that would actually work? But we'll talk about that when we get to the Universal Monsters. Up next, I got this other weird, like, double feature of About Last Night and St. Elmo's Fire. About Last Night was not a movie I did not have, but I really wanted St. Elmo's Fire. I really liked that one. So I picked this 2-pack, which came with About Last Night. I liked About Last Night. It's a pretty good movie. St. Elmo's Fire is more of the reason I got this, though, and I quite enjoy that one as well. They're 2 movies that are of their time, but I liked them for what they were. All right, up next we have Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter in 3D. That's right, this was one of the 3D craze. I had this movie because I did have a 3D TV and a 3D Blu-ray player. I still do, actually, in my bedroom right now, because they're not, when I upgraded the 4K, they got shuffled to the next room. But Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, I read the book. I liked the book. The movie, I was aware that Timurbek Mambatov was the director. He directed Wanted as well as Night Watch and Day Watch. So I knew what I was getting, and that's probably why I enjoyed the movie more than a lot of other people did. But yeah, it's okay. It's some likable trash. Absentia. This was the first movie where I became aware of Mike Flanagan. He directed this film and it actually premiered at the Fargo Film Festival while I was a student going to MSUM. So I got to be at the premiere at the film festival where I met Mike Flanagan and Doug Jones, who's in this film. I met them both back in, 2010, probably. Met them both, wonderful people. I was so excited when Mike Flanagan's career took off and started going places. And, I mean, Doug Jones was already Doug Jones, but hey, more of that was always good, too. So, yeah, Absentia. All right, this is the DVD of The Abyss. This is the special edition, the extended cut, and that's probably the reason why I still have this thing the way I do, is because we're still not sure if the 4K or Blu-ray or whatever the next version that James Cameron is releasing is going to be the extended cut, which is the superior cut of the film. The Abyss is one of those movies that's just kind of forgotten, and I think part of it is because of its physical media lack of presence. But it's a pretty solid movie, and without the success of this, at least from a filmmaking perspective, we would not have Terminator 2, because this was where they used the water CG that would eventually be used to make the T-1000. So, Accepted came for free. Walmart used to do these dual packs where, like, if you bought a brand new movie, like Knocked Up, I think was the one that this came with. It came with this free. Like, it was like $15 to buy Knocked Up, and then $15 to buy Knocked Up with this. So I would always get the 3 movie that came with because it felt like some sort of discount. Accepted is funny, though. I'm not mean to denigrate the movie. I probably wouldn't own it. But it is a funny little movie that I do enjoy. This is actually one of my wife's concert films, AC/DC Family Jewels, which I believe is a concert film, or else it's it's a bunch of just collection of music videos or performances. So I've never watched AC/DC's Family Jewels, but her whole family likes AC/DC, so it's something that they've gravitated towards more than I have. I like AC/DC, but it's not something I felt like putting in. This up next is the Ace Ventura 2-pack. This is Ace Ventura: Pet Detective and Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. No, I do not own Ace Ventura Jr. It's one of the rare sequels that I say, screw you, I'm not going to have. Definitely some humor that wouldn't fly today, some stuff that's not okay today. I'm not offended by a lot of stuff, so it's just kind of like, again, I say I'm not offended by stuff, but I'm a straight white male, so it's like, what would I be offended by? Like I've never been a marginalized group, so of course I'm not going to be offended by a lot of things. But I have always found these movies to be both very, very entertaining. I used to be a big fan of When Nature Calls, and then I became more of a fan of Pet Detective. It seems like When Nature Calls kind of hit kids a little bit differently. And as you grow up, you become a fan of Pet Detective. But Jim Carrey, just what a run he had in 1994 with that, Dumb and Dumber, and The Mask. And we'll get to those ones as well. Across the Universe. Teenage angsty Kyle loved Across the Universe. And adult Kyle likes it quite a bit too. But the idea of taking Beatles music and making a musical out of it is such a cool idea that I can't believe it works as well as it did in this film. I love Jim Sturgis, Evan Rachel Wood. Both of them fantastic leading performances in this film, and I just think it's got a great soundtrack, and the cover versions of all the Beatles songs work really well within the narrative. So it's just a surprisingly good movie. All right, up next we have The Addams Family on Blu-ray, and then haven't been able to upgrade this one yet. Addams Family Values on DVD. So you got those two. Again, I don't have Addams Family Reunion, the third film with the entire recast of the actors. These two films are just wonderful, though. I've always been a little bit more partial to Addams Family Values. I think it's the one I saw more as a kid. I always found, who's the actress? Joan Cusack to be, like, really unnerving as this woman who comes in to try and steal Fester away. That always seemed to work for me better, but they're both really good movies. Let's see here. The Adjustment Bureau. Got this one right here. I'm a fan of Philip K. Dick, and a lot of these films based on his work, they kind of take some creative liberties, but you can see the ideas that are at play here are really good. It stars Matt Damon and Emily Blunt, who we'd later see in Oppenheimer. I don't think they actually share any screen time in that film, but it's a pretty cool little sci-fi story. Maybe a little bit longer than it needs to be. It runs close to that 2-hour mark when I think it could be a little bit less, probably closer to 90 minutes, and it would have flowed a little bit better, but it's a cool little sci-fi story nonetheless. Adventureland. It says here from the director of Superbad, which is not a helpful comparison because it's not really like Superbad, but it was sold as like a Superbad movie. So the marketing kind of betrayed this film, but it's a nice little indie comedy. I like this one. And it was kind of a good time for Kristen Stewart to have a film that wasn't Twilight coming out, because it was during that Twilight phase, and this showcased that she could do a lot more than that. So, The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. Haven't seen it. Got nothing to say about it. I can't believe I haven't seen it, but I haven't seen it. The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. This was one that was just incredibly cheap at Target. It was like $9 for a Blu-ray of a Disney movie, and I'd never seen it, so I wanted to catch it. Ichabod's part, the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, is great. I'm not big on the Wind in the Willows portion with Mr. Toad. It's not great, but the movie itself is only like a little over an hour, so I put up with Wind in the Willows if I can get some Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Up next, we have The Adventures of Tintin. I think it's, to date, Spielberg's only animated film, and it's great. When we talk about Spielberg's best movies, this one doesn't come up, but the more I've watched it, the more I have enjoyed it. So it's one that continues to surprise me. Aftermath, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is on Blu-ray. Haven't seen it. Couldn't speak to it very much. Maybe next year when I do this list, it'll be more prominent because I'll know it more. Another Spielberg film, AI, Artificial Intelligence. Underrated in Spielberg's filmography. I think because it's not really, it's kind of like Spielberg-esque, but it's also like a Kubrick-esque story because he took over directing duties when Kubrick passed away. I really dig AI, Artificial Intelligence. I think it's an underrated movie, and it's one that I will continue praising. It's also got an early Jude Law performance that's really wild. Air Force One is commonly considered like one of the first R-rated movies that I think I saw like in its R-rated form. Of course, I'd seen Animal House at that point, but I think it was a taped version. I'd seen Animal House. This was the first movie that I think like I remember not having to like I watched this with my parents as an R-rated movie. Prior to that, it was kind of like catching bits of R-rated movies or seeing them when my parents weren't really aware that I was seeing them. Air Force One was one of those. I liked it when I was a kid. It's not as good as I remember, but it's okay. You know what is great, though? Airplane. This is one of my favorite comedies, starring Leslie Nielsen. And I used to I used to be a little harder on this film than I was on something like Naked Gun. I still prefer the Naked Gun if I'm looking at like parody films, satire films with Leslie Nielsen in it. But this one has risen a lot in recent years because of the amount of rewatches I've had. Particularly after the passing of Leslie Nielsen, I revisited this film a lot more than I used to. And every time I watch it, I love it more. The more times I go on flights, the more times I have to quote Airplane while in the terminal, probably driving my wife crazy. But it's just necessary, I feel. And yet there you have it for Airplane. All right, continuing on, we have the Airport Collection. First film was actually shot at at Minneapolis Airport, so it was kind of cool being able to see that. But this is Airport 1975, Airport 77, and The Concorde, Airport 79. I actually didn't realize that these movies were like a through line in terms of like, what is the actor's name? Gosh, George Kennedy is in all four of them playing the same character. And so I didn't realize that this was actually like a series in some way. I thought they were just kind of standalone episodes, and they are kind of that way. But again, George Kennedy does have a character through line, so that was kind of interesting. I bought this purely because we were reviewing the first film on my show, Kyle and Nick on Film, and I needed to have a copy of it. This was the only way to get one without spending a ton of money, was just getting the whole pack, and so I got to watch all of them. Because you know me, I'm going to have the entire series. All right, up next I have a 4K of the 90s film Aladdin. If you've watched my movie hauls, I talked about how Disney Insiders is an app there you can get your reward points for owning Disney movies or going to see them in theaters. I accrue a lot of reward points, and it gives me the opportunity to upgrade a lot of my films to 4K because they do have a nice rewards program for physical media. I also have DVD copies of Aladdin 2, or the Aladdin the Return of Jafar, and Aladdin and the King of Thieves. Tougher to find films now, unless you have, of course, Disney Plus, but for like physical media, tougher to find films. I used to be big on Return of Jafar and King of Thieves, but both films just not even close to as good as the original one. I actually think better than both the sequels is probably this remake right here from 2019. There's a 4K of that one as well. Sorry, it's a little shiny, glossy there, but I actually really like this one because Guy Ritchie, who directed it, had a very distinct look at the film. He honors what came before, but he also gives his own flair. I think Will Smith is doing a much better job of playing a genie than of like replicating Robin Williams' genie, which I think was the smart move, was be your own person. Don't just take the same route as Robin Williams because you just can't do it as good as he did. So Will Smith did something unique with his take on the genie, and I quite liked it. Alexander. This is a movie I probably should rewatch, but it's so damn long. How long is this cut? This cut that I have is 3.5 hours. And it feels longer than that. But this is a movie that I bought this version because I was told the final cut is the best cut of the movie. And I don't know if that's correct or not, but that's what I was told. So I watched the final cut, and this was one of the most grueling experiences I have ever had. It is so boring and long, and nothing really happens. And I love Colin Farrell, but he was miscast hopelessly in this film. Okay, we've got some Alfred Hitchcock. This is a DVD collection of Alfred Hitchcock, The Legend Begins from Mill Creek Entertainment, a local releaser here. So this has a bunch of kind of the lesser-known Alfred Hitchcock films. I've seen a handful of the ones in this set, but this has a couple episodes of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. It's also got, and we'll cover this quick, Blackmail, Champagne, Easy Virtue, The Farmer's Wife, which is boring. I think Farmer's Wife might be his worst movie, at least the ones I've seen. Jamaica Inn, Juno and the Paycock, The Lady Vanishes, which is awesome and worth owning this set for. The Lodger, The Man Who Knew Too Much, the original. The Manx Man, another really boring silent film of his. Number 17, Rich and Strange, The Ring, Sabotage, Secret Agent, The Skin Game, The 39 Steps, which I actually had in my Numbers episode earlier, Young and Innocent, as well as 55 minutes of Alfred Hitchcock's movie trailers as a special feature. So this was like a set that I got for like $5 at a Target, and it was worth the $5 purchase for The Lady Vanishes alone. I haven't covered a lot of the other films in this set, but I broke into it when we did our ranking of Alfred Hitchcock films over on Kyle and Nikon Films Patreon collection. So right here we also have more Hitchcock. We have more Alfred Hitchcock, the Ultimate Collection. This was a set that I got it from Target on Black Friday. It was beat to hell, but honestly, I couldn't return it because then I would have had to pay full price for it. So, what are the films that are in this set again? I've seen almost everything in this set. It was Saboteur, Shadow of a Doubt, a movie that a lot of people love. I don't feel much for Shadow of a Doubt. Rope, which is one of my favorites. Rear Window, which is one of my favorites. The Trouble with Harry, which is one of my favorites. The Man Who Knew Too Much, the remake, which is pretty good. Vertigo, which is really good. North by Northwest, which is really like, I've watched it maybe 3 times. It's really won me over time. Psycho, which is one of my favorites. The Birds, which I didn't like the first time I saw it. I liked it a little bit more now. I still think it's okay. Marnie, which is okay. Torn Curtain, which is okay. Topaz, which I, for a long time, thought was his worst movie. Frenzy, which I'm a big fan of. I like Frenzy quite a bit. And Family Plot, his final film, which is the only one I haven't seen from this set. Just didn't get around to watching it when I had the time. I will get to that one eventually because that one gets a lot of crap as being like his worst movie too, but I feel like it's going to be better than Topaz or The Farmer's Wife. We also have Alice in Wonderland, the Disney film, another really inexpensive Disney purchase. For a while, the Disney Vault was such a thing that I was like, I got to get my hands on these movies while they're out of the vault, because who knows when they go back into the vault. Up next, we have the Alien series. So we have Prometheus. This is a 3D Blu-ray of Prometheus. We also have Alien Covenant in its Blu-ray set. This is like one of those taller Blu-rays, which doesn't fit on the shelf right. Really frustrating. And then we have the Alien Anthology. That's what this set was called, which has dual cuts. 2 cuts of Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection. So there's 2 different cuts of all 4 films. This is a great set. And I think that outside of Alien, I think the theatrical cut of Alien is the best one. But Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection, the alternate cuts, the non-theatrical ones, whatever they're called, are the better versions of all 3 of those films. So this is a great set to have. When Alien as a series becomes available on 4K, I won't be upgrading if I can't get both cuts of the films, because this is an incredible Blu-ray collection and well worth your time. Alita Battle Angel. There's a 4K copy and a 3D copy. I've seen both copies. I mean, I'm always going to pick the better quality, like the 4K copy over a 3D version, as long as the cut is correct. And this one only has 1 cut. So, Alita Battle Angel, very underrated movie. I think the only thing it fails at is the romance between Alita and that poorly performed character that falls in love with her. I don't even remember his name. But everything else in the movie I really, really enjoy. I love like the kind of like the Pinocchio, I'm a real boy aspect to the film. I think it sets up some really cool world building. I think Robert Rodriguez knocked this one out of the park. I think James Cameron, as producer, was great. I want more Alita so bad. Please give me more Alita. All Dogs Go to Heaven. This is one I got because I feel like I'd seen it as a kid. One of the Don Bluth films that doesn't really do much for me anymore. I as a kid I really liked it, but just did not age for me very well. I don't really care much for the film that much. Almost Famous, the bootleg cut. This is like the 3-hour cut of the film, and I actually think this one has a better flow to it than the 2-hour version. This runs close to 3 hours. But I like the flow of this one. It takes its time with more of the music going through. But I do appreciate Almost Famous, the bootleg cut. I wish that version came with both versions of the movie, because there are some times I probably would want to watch the shorter one. Altered States. This was a damn surprise. I knew about Ken Russell, I knew about this movie, but I didn't know like in detail what this thing was. Altered States is an incredible sci-fi film that's kind of also a horror film. Damn. Yeah, this might be this probably is my favorite Ken Russell movie. Because I really like The Devils, I like a lot of his other work, but Altered States is just, man, it just hit in a way that was a lot. We have some Alvin and the Chipmunks films. We have Alvin and the Chipmunks, we have The Squeakquel, and we have, what is it, Chipwrecked? And then I also have The Road Chip. I don't know why. I don't know why I do these things. I've actually seen 3 of these movies, except for Chipwrecked. I've seen 1, 2, and 4. My niece and nephew wanted to watch 4 one night. The first one's okay. It's all right. Everything after that I've seen I don't like. We have Amadeus, the director's cut. This was a great first time watch for me and my wife. Sometimes we get in a mood where we'll watch like a 3-hour, 3.5, 4-hour movie on like a Saturday, where we like pause and make popcorn and order some food and stuff. And it's one of my favorite things to do, is her and I just like talking about a movie and enjoying a movie, one of these really deep, rich experiences, and Amadeus does that. Yeah, I got the DVD because it's really hard to find a copy of it, especially if you want to get the director's cut, which is what I wanted. So, Ambulance. Ambulance is a remake of a film directed by Michael Bay from last year. It's okay. Okay is probably the best way to describe it. It's okay. I'd heard better things from a lot of other people that were like kind of naysayers on the Michael Bay thing. I think it could have been better. It's still way too long. Michael Bay needs to figure out how to edit some crap out of his movies, and he also maybe got a little too aggressive with the drone shots, because there's some that are really cool and then some that are just like, why are we still doing this? Amelie. This was given to me by a friend. I haven't seen it yet. All right, up next we have America Lost and Found, the BBS story. What does BBS stand for again? I always get that part wrong. I don't remember what that one is. But this comes with Head, which was the Monkeys film. Comes with Easy Rider, which I watched when I got the set. I was not a big fan of Easy Rider when I saw it in college, but I liked it a lot more when I watched it again. 5 Easy Pieces, which I quite liked. Drive, he said, which is okay. Safe Place, which is awful. It might be one of the worst movies Criterion ever released. They did it because of the complete collection of this. The Last Picture Show, which I quite liked, and The King of Marvin Gardens, which I have not watched yet. Yeah, the reason why they put A Safe Place is because they wanted to release the entirety of what the studio did. BBS Productions was only around for this amount of time to make these films, and then it was gone. So I see why they released A Safe Place, but my God, it was an awful movie. Everything else in this is pretty good. American Beauty on Blu-ray, a film that is maybe aged poorly because of the cast involved. I know Kevin Spacey was cleared of his charges, but still he did some things that were icky. Whether or not they were officially illegal, they could prove. But he did some icky things. It's a movie that's a little self-indulgent. I think all the elements as far as like Alan Ball as a screenwriter got better after this film, jumping into things like 6 Feet Under. And I think Sam Mendes jumped off of this into things like working on the Bond films, 1917. Sam Mendes has done some really great work since there as well, so this is a great jumping off point. The film itself is a little self-indulgent, but I can see why it won Best Picture when it did. I still really enjoy watching the movie. I think it's a really captivating, really well-made film that just has a few elements of it that haven't aged as well. American Gangster. I recently got the 4K for this because I love this movie so much. And this one I also got because it had both cuts of the film. I think the extended cut's a better movie. This is one, I didn't realize the film was that long when I went to see it in the theater in 2007. I went to like a midnight screening in a town that was like an hour away from me. And I went by myself, which was maybe not the smartest thing to do. But I saw this movie. So I left the theater at like 3:30, drove home, got home by like 4:30 in the morning. I was exhausted. But I went to see American Gangster and I really, really liked this movie. Probably one of my favorite movies from the year it came out in 2007, but that was a really good year. But one of my favorite Ridley Scott films, without a doubt. More America, American History X. A difficult watch, but a well-made movie. So I don't revisit this one as often, but it is so well made. And again, like I tend to find that it cruises pretty darn quick. Oh, so my copy is damaged. It's got some damage here. This is a very, very good movie. Actually, my wife, when we were dating, I don't remember how we got a hold of them, but we got a hold of American History X and Fight Club. These are two movies that she was like, you have to watch these movies. It's not too often that she had movies that I hadn't seen, so we watched them, I think, back to back, and I think this was the first one. And American History X, I think, is a better made movie than Fight Club, but I think Fight Club is infinitely more watchable than American History X. American Hustle. This is a movie I convinced myself I loved. I bought this Blu-ray after it came out because I love the movie so much, and I haven't watched it since it came out in 2013. I'm sure I would like the movie, but I've had a very little drive to watch American Hustle. So yeah, it's been like over 10 years since I've seen this. The Blu-ray has dust on it. Anywho, I do plan on rewatching it, but it's been a while. American Made, a movie that is quite good. This was a surprise to me because, again, Tom Cruise does Mission Impossible well. Tom Cruise does Top Gun well. Tom Cruise just making some random movie where he plays a guy who flies drugs for other people. Like, could have gone either way. One of the benefits of this movie is that Tom Cruise is not playing a holier than thou character. He's playing kind of a doofus. The character he's playing is not a very smart man. Makes a lot of mistakes, kind of falls ass backwards into things. That's where it works, is because he's finally playing these like flawed characters. And he's embracing the flaws. And I think that's what's really special about this film, and then what he went on to do with Top Gun Maverick, playing a character who's confronting his mortality and his age. And I think American Made springboarded that conversation for him. We've got a bunch of American Pie movies here. Got American Pie 1 and 2, we got American Wedding, and we have American Reunion. Somewhere around here I have all the other spin-offs, but here's one like a used copy of The Book of Love. And American Pie Presents Girls Rules. Somewhere around here I've got the other films. I think I'm in the middle of doing a rewatch of the franchise. They also came with, back when they released like extra disc things, there's Beneath the Crust Volume 1 and Volume 2 that came with the first two films on DVD back when American Wedding was coming out, because they were trying to sell that. So just more special features on those. They're kind of just things that I'm not even sure I should keep anymore, but they're there. American Psycho. Two minds on this one, because depending on how you interpret the ending, I like one of the interpretations, I don't like the other one, and I've gone into that many times before, so I won't break down a spoiler discussion of it right now, but it's a very good movie. Kind of like American History X. It's not one that I feel like watching a lot, but very good movie nonetheless. All right, we have American Tail and American Tail 2, Fievel Goes West. I was always a bigger fan of Fievel Goes West when I was a kid. But I think it's because American Tail is an incredibly depressing movie. But yeah, I like both of these Don Bluth films. Did Don Bluth do the second one? No, Phil Nibblink did the second film. So there you go. I also got a DVD of An American Werewolf in London. This, for me, what was the other movie I bought with this? I don't remember what the other one was. It might have been when I got Rocky Horror Picture Show. But I picked this up on DVD, a blind buy. Heard good things about American Werewolf in London, and my God, I remember watching this movie at like 3 in the morning, which is a terrible time to watch movies. I watched this at 3 in the morning, and I was awake the whole time, and my eyes were glued to the screen. I love this thing so much, and it was a rarity in that it's one of my favorite horror movies that I was able to introduce to my wife, and she loved it just as much, and it's become a little bit of a staple in our house. I've been meaning to pick up that 4K that Arrow Video has, because it looks like a great 4K. I really want to get my hands on it. But for now, the DVD will do just fine. Keeping on going, we've hit the Amityville portion of today's video. Amityville Horror. This is the trilogy of the first 3 films. The Amityville Horror, Amity 2, The Possession, and Amity 3, The Demon. It also has the Amityville Confidential, which is just a bunch of behind-the-scenes kind of stuff. I've never actually watched that 4th disc. But I'm not big on Amityville 1. I think it's okay. But I think its name recognition carries a lot more weight than the actual film does. I think Amityville 2, The Possession, which is a much dirtier, grimier, a little bit grosser, as a sequel, really a prequel, about the family that dies at the beginning of the film, is really good. Amityville 3, The Demon, is again kind of standard, standard sequelish kind of stuff. But again, I like 3 more than 1 as well. So yeah, there you have those first 3 films. I also actually have a copy of Amityville 4, The Evil Escapes. I don't know where I got this one either, but this one, there's a lamp monster. So if you like that joke from Family Guy about Stephen King and his evil lamp monster, yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing that's in this. Amityville 4 is not great either. It's got Petty Duke in it. So there you go. That's a thing. I think I also have a digital version of Amityville The Curse, or Amityville Curse, and that most recent Amityville The Awakening. So for the longest time, I was kind of like not feeling the idea of buying all the Amityville films, because as much as I'm a collector, most of those are crap. But then I came to this understanding that the Amityville films that came out before the remake are part of the original series. And then after that, the name got picked up, and you could use the term Amityville as much as you wanted. So anything that came after the remake is pretty much the crap. That would not be worth owning. And then they eventually released Amityville The Awakening, which is from the same kind of general studio as that. So that's part of it as well. Those are the films that I think are worth watching because they've got that classic Amityville flavor to them. And I also have the remake right here as well. Those are the ones that I want to get. So I want to get, like, what is it? Amityville, It's About Time. Amityville Dollhouse. I think there's another one. Oh, New Generation, I think, is the other one. Those are the ones I'm still looking to add to my collection. If you have a copy and you're trying to get rid of it, let me know. We have Anaconda, and then right next to it I also put Lake Placid 2, because these franchises crossed over, if you didn't know. I have digital versions of a bunch of those. They were given to me by... there was a good sale or something on them, and I picked them up for like $1 a piece online. So it's like Anaconda 2, 3, and 4, Lake Placid 1, 3, 4, 5, and then the crossover. I think that was what it was. It's confusing. But I've seen only the first of each film, and I've seen Anacondas too. So these two kind of sit weirdly together on the same shelf, but they did cross over as franchises, so I kind of keep them in the same spot. We've got Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy. I also have Anchorman, The Adventure Continues, or Wake Up Ron Burgundy, that's what it's called. And this was a film compiled from deleted scenes from Anchorman, which I thought was an interesting idea. I didn't like this at all. I will finish it one day, but I took this out of my player. I thought it was so incredibly boring, which is not what you want for a sequel to like a follow-up kind of thing to Anchorman. And then I got Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues, the true sequel, and one that I quite enjoyed. I actually like all the cuts that I've seen of this film. I think this Blu-ray comes with 3 different cuts of the film on its own. And it used to play things here. It doesn't play things here anymore. Last time I moved it, it lost the ability to play music out of the box. I like Anchorman 2. It's a little bit more of the same, but just on a grander scale. I still find it very entertaining. Up next, we have Andre Gregory and Wallace Shawn, 3 films. This is a Criterion set with My Dinner with Andre, Vanya on 42nd Street, and A Master Builder. I bought this set purely because I wanted to get My Dinner with Andre. I have not seen the other 2 films just yet. My Dinner with Andre is awesome. The Andromeda Strain, one of my favorite Michael Crichton books. This is the miniseries that I think aired on A&E. Yeah, haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Angels in America, given to me by a friend who bought a better version of this movie. This is a miniseries on HBO. I think it ran for 3 hours. Haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Anger Management. I have seen this. Anger Management is it's one of the more fun kind of Adam Sandler films from the early 2000s. He has good chemistry with Jack Nicholson. We have Angry Birds, the movie. And Angry Birds 2, the movie, or The Angry Birds 2 movie. Haven't seen either of them yet. I don't know why I have them. It was this thing where, like, I heard good things about the first one, and then I had to have the second one. I have a problem, and I'm dealing with it. We have The Animal. Screw you, Rob Schneider. You're an asshole now. But The Animal is probably the best Rob Schneider starring film. I don't really want to watch this anytime soon. I liked it when I was a kid. I was also 11. Animal House. This has always been the one I've gone to as my favorite comedy of all time. Very, very non-PC comedy, but it is one that I've always enjoyed. Yeah, it's one of those, it'll make me feel good if I'm having a bad day kind of a movie. Anna Karenina. Haven't seen it. Annie. I'm not big on it. It's okay. It's a movie that was played for me a lot when I was in daycare. It's fine. Annihilation. I really like Annihilation. This movie's messed up. I can't tell if it's my favorite Alex Garland film. I mean, I like it more than Men. I think Men stumbles a bit at the end. But do I like it more than Ex Machina? That's tough. I don't know for certain, but Annihilation is great. Anvil, the story of Anvil. Haven't seen it yet. Any Given Sunday. Haven't seen it in like 20 years. I bought a copy of this because I feel like it's a movie I wanted to rewatch, and it was like $1 at this used place. So, yeah, Any Given Sunday, I'll watch it eventually. But I know I watched it once when I was younger. I just haven't seen it in years. I have no memory of it. Apocalypse Now. I actually have, somewhere out in this house, I've got the 4K. So this will probably get replaced because I have the 4K with Apocalypse Now, the new cut of the film, as well as all the stuff on here. So this is Apocalypse Now, Redux, and Hearts of Darkness. But I did just get the 4K for that. I haven't done an unboxing for it yet. So, Apollo 13, a movie that young Kyle appreciated, but older Kyle has appreciated even more. It is a movie that ages really well with those of us that wanted to be astronauts. Apollo 18, an incredibly disappointing movie that really wastes a great premise. The idea is that it's found footage on the moon about this Apollo mission that apparently happened, but they like hid what happened because of the horror elements. It completely wastes that idea. It's such a good idea, especially for like found footage, which needs good ideas, and this one wasted it. Apt Pupil, a Bryan Singer directed adaptation of a Stephen King story, one of the lesser known Stephen King stories. Well directed by Bryan Singer, well acted by Ian McKellen and Brad Renfro, right? Brad Renfro. McKellen is crazy creepy as a former Nazi in the film. The Apu trilogy, featuring Pather Panchali, Aparajito, and Apur Sansar. I hope I got those right. These are 3 films by Satyajit Ray. I'm sorry, I'm butchering the name. I don't know enough about these. As you can see, there's still the wrap on there. I'll do an unboxing eventually where I'll get a chance to deep dive into that a little bit more, and then I'll probably know it a little bit more. Aqua Teen Hunger Force: movie film for theaters for DVD. This is a DVD release of the Aqua Teen Hunger Force: movie film for theaters, which is an adaptation of the Aqua Teen Hunger Force television series, and actually comes with the second disc contains an 80-minute deleted movie, which is pretty fun as well. This was my first real interaction with Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Was someone told me to check out the movie, and I'd seen a little bit of the show. I didn't really like the show that much. The movie I liked quite a bit, so I've actually been meaning to rewatch this because it has been a long time, and I've actually come to appreciate the show a little bit more as well. Arachnophobia, creepy movie from when I was a kid. It's not as creepy now as an adult, but it's definitely got that creep factor. Features the late great Julian Sands, someone who we just recently lost, and someone who I really adore as a performer. Argo, fuck yourself. This is the Blu-ray for this film. It's not my favorite movie of 2012. I think that was when it came out. Not my favorite movie of the year it was released at the very least. But it is a great movie and deserved to be on a top 10 list, I believe, for the year. It might be my favorite Ben Affleck directed film. Argo is so good. The Aristocrats. This is an entire documentary about the Aristocrats joke, which if you don't know the joke, my version's not going to be funny. But it's this make it how you will joke, basically, about a talent agency, and a guy goes in and says, I've got a talent that you could make some money off of. And he goes, what is it? And they describe the most gruesome, inappropriate thing of all. And the person says, what do you call it? And he says, the Aristocrats. I know I just kind of ruined that joke, but the documentary about the joke itself and having all these comedians in it is very, very funny. Armageddon, a movie that has consistently aged every time I see it. I was really excited to show that movie to my wife one year instead of watching Independence Day. I was like, why don't we watch Armageddon? It's a different, it's kind of that kind of, it would work well on July 4th. And we watched it, and she's like, and then I was like, it's not that good, is it? Arrival. Denis Villeneuve, Arrival. I forget that he directed this movie. This is a great movie. Yeah, because it's like smart sci-fi. It is not action-oriented sci-fi, and it really, really works. Yeah, Arrival's great. The Artist won Best Picture in 2011, I think. This is a movie that its idea is really good. Every time I've seen it, I've liked it a little bit less. And it's not to say that I think the movie is bad, but I think it gets that whole thing of it won Best Picture, so now we all view it through a different light. And I don't know that it was worthy of Best Picture. Assault on Precinct 13. This is actually one of the rare steelbooks. Everybody who has steelbooks does this when they open them. So there's a steelbook for that. This is the original film. I really like the original film. I actually first saw this remake right here, Assault on Precinct 13, with Ethan Hawke and Lawrence Fishburne. I like this one too, but I haven't watched this one since seeing the original, so it might be time to revisit that one as well. The A-Team, one of the better TV to movie adaptations of this. Bradley Cooper as I always forget the character names, but Bradley Cooper, Liam Neeson, Charlton Copley, and then Quentin Rampage Jackson in the Mr. T role was really good. And Patrick Wilson in this film, a really good kind of like slimy scumbag kind of villain. It's better than it's given credit for. Atlantis: The Lost Empire and Atlantis: Milo's Return. The Lost Empire is a pretty cool little movie that I really wish had hit a little bit better than it did, because it could have like spring-loaded this really cool franchise, like this adventuring kind of steampunk kind of world thing. Didn't do that well, and so they released Milo's Return, which was technically 3 episodes of a proposed animated series that they turned into a movie. Milo's Return is terrible. There's a reason it came free when you bought Atlantis: The Lost Empire. ATM, cool little 80-minute horror film. I've seen one of the cuts. There's a director's cut and a theatrical cut. I've probably seen the director's cut. It's not bad. It's you know, a bunch of people get into an ATM, and then there's like a person in a park outside who's threatening to kill them, and it's works itself out pretty good. Attack the Block. I've seen the first 30 minutes of this movie. I think it was right before I moved, so I kind of like stored it with the intention of pulling it back out and restarting it. I will watch it one day, but I've enjoyed the first like 30 minutes that I saw. Up next, we have an Audrey Hepburn 7-movie collection. So what does this contain? This has Breakfast at Tiffany's, which I have a Blu-ray of, and we'll cover when we get to the B's. But Breakfast at Tiffany's is a movie that is really hard to love because it has an incredibly racist character in it, played by Mickey Rooney. If there, I very rarely say this, but if there was a way to excise that character from the film, I don't think the movie would change that much. And it would be an infinitely better movie, because I love Breakfast at Tiffany's, but I really hate what they did with that character and how unnecessary and unnecessarily racist it is. But anyway, Breakfast at Tiffany's is here. There's also Funny Face, which I haven't seen, My Fair Lady, which I haven't seen, Paris When It Sizzles, Roman Holiday. I have Roman Holiday? Huh. Sabrina, and War and Peace. I didn't know I had Roman Holiday. I really should break open this set. This one's still wrapped in plastic because my Blu-ray of Breakfast at Tiffany's is the only thing I've seen. 3-pack of Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, Spy Who Shagged Me, and Goldmember. I like all 3 of these. I think the first 2 are the ones that I think hold the strongest. This one does a little bit of the same thing but different. You know, the same thing over again. Goldmember's not nearly as clever, but it's, if you like these first 2 enough, I think there is enough to love in Goldmember, but it's just not as strong as the first 2 films. Automaton Transfusion. I made this joke when this movie came out that I was going to buy it. I was like a teenager, and it was in the store at Walmart, and it was really cheap, and I just kept making a joke about buying Automaton Transfusion. One of the best zombie films in decades, said BloodyDisgusting.com. Whoever said that at BloodyDisgusting.com is wrong. This is not a good movie. This is a 72, is it 72 minutes? 75-minute movie. That is the longest 75 minutes I've had in a long time when I finally did get around to watching it. It's horribly directed, it's horribly written, it's horribly acted. There's not even good zombie action in the film. And then it ends as a setup to like a sequel or like a franchise. Which is weird because it's so low budget that like, why would you expect to get a franchise out of this? It's so low budget, and is like, I don't want a follow-up, but it also answers 0 questions. And it's a frustratingly awful movie that unfortunately is in my collection. Okay, we're almost done with the A's. Our last 2 is we have Avatar. This is the Blu-ray of the film, the extended Blu-ray collector's edition. This has 3 cuts of the movie. I've only seen the original theatrical cut in theaters, and then I saw the super extended cut, the full extended cut on here. So there's like a middle one that is like 8 minutes, and then there's the longer one with 16. All this is to say, I really like Avatar, and I think it gets a bad rap from people because the movie, yeah, it has a lot of the similar beats as other films. Every film ever made is based on a previous story. Every story that's ever been told has been told. It's not going to be told. There are no new stories. It's all just how you take the story and mold it to yourself. And I think that the casing around the story is incredibly well done, and I think really solid. It's a cool looking world. It's one I like spending time in. And so I have Avatar right there. And then I recently got Avatar: The Way of Water on 4K. haven't had a chance to open and watch this one yet, but I liked it in theaters quite a bit. I don't know that I liked it more than the first one, but it was like on par with the first one. But yeah, I really enjoyed Avatar too. My biggest gripe with this 4K release, though, look at that. Look at that right there. That is the side of this movie as it will sit on my shelf. It doesn't say Avatar: The Way of Water. It doesn't say Avatar 2. It doesn't even say Avatar. It says A. And it's not the other side. The other side is the same way. A. What the hell is that? Anyway, all that is to say that, thankfully, Avatar says Avatar on the side of it, so that when this sits next to it, hopefully the A will tell you it's more Avatar.